This is Daybreak, reaching you live from our studios in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. It's time to review the papers for you this morning and an analysis of the big stories. Let's begin with our sister publication, shall we? This day leads with the situation in Delta State. Well, the Delta governor, Oborevwori, has now briefed President Bola Tinubu on Delta killings, and he says the state was taken aback by the development. He assures the situation is under control. That's the story that leads the front page this morning. Zenith Bank appoints Adora Moji, GMD CEOs above the masthead. Nati with 23.56% rise in revenue. Federal government, states, local governments share 10.14 trillion naira in 2023. NNPC to take FID on $25 billion Nigeria-Morocco gas pipeline in December of 2024. That's this day.
All right, let's look at what the Punch has on its front page. It says, reign of terror. 165 farmers killed March. Farms deserted as bandits demand 3 billion naira. Has some riders. 130 farmers killed in 4 Benue local government areas, 28 in Sokoto. Sorghum production falls by 90% in Borno. Benue farmers lose 1.1 billion naira in attacks. Sokoto growers pay 3 billion naira ransoms, 5 million paid in Niger Delta. FG names 15 terrorism financiers. BDC's plans sanctions. The top mast, let's see what it is saying there. It says 30 trillion naira loan. Senate uncovers fresh infraction, summons Cardoso. Reps to quiz minister over $300 million malaria loan spending. And abducted editor, asthmatic, family laments, and UGA demands release. That's for the Punch.
Delta killings also leads the front page of the Vanguard. It says 3 suspects nabbed, moved to Army headquarters in Asaba.
And Punch Sports, spot on. Now there's a leading sport kick saver across Europe. That's interesting. Why Napoli ruled out Osimhen. Finidi in high spirits ahead first Eagles task. And Trap zone fracas, why Osai Samuel may escape ban. And Perez wants Garnacho at Madrid. D Tigers get Olympic foes. That's for the Punch Sports.
The Guardian. Loan sharks target poor citizens, exploit, violate privacy rights. It's amazing the length some of these loan sharks go, honestly. That's the Guardian for you.
Leadership newspaper. Killing of soldiers, panic in Bayelsa as troops launch manhunt for killers. Impeachment, Edo Assembly, tightens news on Shuaibu.
Oh, let's flip to the international papers. The Guardian UK this morning leads on a US survey which claims young people are less happy and suffering the equivalent of a midlife crisis rather, because of social media.
I-Paper, Reeves, we won't repeat mistakes of new Labour.
And the Daily Express, we have the Daily Express. Prince focuses on driving forwards and not Kate's rumors.
All right, let's look at the Daily Mail. Staff security breach fear for Princess of Wales. Staff at Kate's Hospital try to access her records.
Well, let's bring in Dr. Kirsten Sikoku, a journalist, social commentator, Around News analyst. Thank you so much for joining us on Paper Review today.
Thanks, Adesuwa. Good morning.
Good morning. Where do you begin? I want to begin with this day. There's a report there by Nati saying that 23.56% rise in revenue, and the federal government, the states, and the local governments have now shared 10.14 trillion naira in 2023. Now, my question is, Dr. Ikoko, do you see this reflect in reality? It means that there was more money for the federation, but where did all that money go?
Excellent question, Adesua. And it's not only you that is asking. Ordinary Nigerians are also asking, why are they receiving or have they received more money? It's from the fuel subsidy removal. And this report from NAITI, Nigeria Transparency, let me see that well, Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. Actually, that organization was set up in 2007, and it was mandated to make sure that there is transparency and accountability in the management of oil and gas and mining revenues in the country. So they are giving us this information because that's their job to give to us, and then we have to do something with it. So from that report, it says that the states with the highest allocations are Delta, Rivers, and Akwa Ibom, and then of course a couple of other states that are oil producing, and you know additionally that they receive 13% derivation as well. And so the list, the states that receive the least, Nasarawa, Ebonyi, and Ekiti, among others. And so, yes, the question is, what are they doing with this money? I think this is a critical question in the light of what is going on in the country. There have been issues of less revenue, less funding for the states and local governments. Now there has been an increase, so people will be expecting that this is used judiciously. Again, you have to go to your states and start demanding from your state governors and state houses of assembly to do more to make sure that they are accountable for these huge resources that they have been given.
Indeed.
Let's look at Punch. This probably explains the reason for food inflation, reign of terror. It says 165 farmers killed in March. Farms deserted as bandits demand 3 billion. 30 farmers killed in 4 Benue local governments, 28 in Sokoto. Sorghum down by 90% in Borno. Benue farmers lose 1.1 billion to attacks. And then you have the issue of FG naming 15 terrorism financiers, BDCs, plan sanctions.
Indeed, you know, that story, there's something profoundly egregious about it. 165 farmers have been killed. But we are not surprised because we have been dealing with terrorism for many years now, and we see that. We hear stories in the newspapers every day of people chased away from their farms, of attacks, you know, not only in the farms, in train stations as well. And so this story is coming to us this morning, and I think that it is saying that the government needs to do more. That is actually why we are having food crisis and food problems, because most of these areas, you know, which we call the food belt of the country, whether it's Benue, whether it's Plateau State, farmers are being chased away from their farms, and this is a problem. And then to the other story that you mentioned, which is some operators of BDCs, Bureau de Change, have been arrested and will be sanctioned. The information is that it's been approved by the president, and the information was brought by the Attorney General of the Federation. And what they have found is that there are people that are financing terrorism, and actually that there are names that have been mentioned. There's one here. Let me get it. It says there's one Tukur Mamu, who is currently undergoing trial for helping terrorists to attack the Abuja-Kaduna train in March 2022. You know, there's also about $200,000 that has been given in support of the Islamic State of West Africa, ISWAP. There's another suspected attacker of the Catholic Church in a war on the state in June 2022. And then there are others that have been picked up for being associated with Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. And then another that was arrested in Okene, Kogi State, for disbursing funds to wives of terrorist fighters. So you have all of this going on. I think it's a bit of good news, because there's always the notion that you have to follow the money, you have to follow the trail. You know, there's nothing too difficult in defeating this. It's just the will. If you have the will to follow the money and the trail, you'll be able to cut off the bloodline of this, you know, not only terrorists, bandits as well. Okay.
but it's really good news. And then they could also use these people to get more information about these terrorists. you know.
Indeed. Follow the money, follow the trail, cut off the oxygen. Well said, Dr. Ikoko. Let's look at the Vanguard again, because there's something happening in Abia State. I wonder what you make of the state.
It's interesting.
It's interesting. This time around, it's the State Assembly trying to pass a law, if I get that correctly.
I think
they passed a bill
passed
to stop pension for ex-governors and their deputies. This is a trend we see across states in Nigeria where they have a lifetime payment even when they leave office. Dr. Koko.
Adesua, you know, it's been a controversial story when it started that state governors, you serve for 8 years and then you have a life pension. And the packages are so outrageous and ridiculous. You'll be given vehicle, you know, so often. Your medical bills are taken care of. Your servants, your houses provided, and
That's
then you
why
have
everybody wants to become a governor. Everybody
exactly.
wants to go into office.
So that includes you? You have
Well, you know.
because you said everybody.
Well.
Minus me. I don't think I'm
Well,
running
you know, if you give me that election, perhaps.
Or maybe Constance. Anyway.
Well, if I do become governor, I would do a very good job. I'm not
Indeed.
interested in the pensions. Anyway, Abia State is leading the way, and I think many other states should also lead the way. The bill quickly passed first, second, and third reading. It was sponsored by the state speaker of that House of Assembly, and it will become law very soon in this month. And it says that they want to free resources to direct it to other areas where the money is needed, because states begin to be clamped down with so much of the burden of this money that they are paying as governors and their deputies and taking care of their whole families. And you know, many Nigerians found this very outstandingly shocking. So it's better to do away with it. We don't need it.
Serap has been on that case, and one those things that other governors of the remaining states should take a cue from what especially Abia is doing. Abia happens to be my state. And
Okay.
and those governors, I mean, people have been talking.
You know, I also find this interesting because, Dr. Ikoko, we've seen a trend where the state houses of assembly are in the pockets of the governors. And so they do the biddings of the executive. But here's the state house of assembly saying the governor is not going to have a life pension, so will his deputy, and we're going to put that into law. I think that's more profound for me.
Yeah, well, and that's why it's also that the governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, is also visionary. You have seen a couple of things that he has done. It's possible that this is something they have discussed together and thought that, you know, it makes no sense. We have to get rid of it.
I think that's setting a roadmap for the governors. Governors coming, the governors already there. Let's look at a story in the international paper, The Guardian, particularly social media banned blame for surge in young people, a midlife crisis. What do you make of that?
Yeah, so this story, according to a survey conducted by Wellbeing, it says that it is detrimental to the health of young people to have access to social media. And so what we are seeing, or what they are finding, is that young people in North America and increasingly in Western Europe are being less happy when compared to adults or the elderly people. And part of the reason is that they are being exposed to social media at a very young age. And so the question that has been raised, and research is still being conducted, is why should we continue to give access to very young people? Because they start very young and then they grow to be adults, adolescents, and it becomes a huge problem. So it is saying that we have to be cautious. We have to take care as parents, especially, to make sure that we shield our children from this kind of exposure that causes huge problem and eventually is not safe for them at all.
Interesting. Well, you know, going back to the question, we haven't had a female elected governor in Nigeria, so perhaps Dr. Constance Okoko, I would be the very first. Dr. Okoko, I will be your campaign manager. You don't have to send any prayers to my inbox when I do that.
You will be my deputy, don't worry.
Oh, great. Look at that. Indeed.
Women,
you
we
are
have to
talking
go.
women. We know what you're doing.
Well, that's a press review. Thank you so much, Dr. Constance, for being here. We'll see you again next week.